My husband couldn't forget his sick first love, so when he learned that his first love woke up in the hospital, he immediately asked me for a divorce. I didn't refuse, only asked for one condition. After the divorce, we promised to never contact each other again, I answered firmly. Orlando's expression was a mix of surprise and confusion. He asked, Cassandra, are you being impulsive? I gave a faint smile. Of course not. Why would you think that? Orlando didn't seem convinced. He said, never contact each other again? That sounds a bit extreme, don't you think? Is it? I replied coldly, but it's my request. I don't need anything anymore. I was afraid I'd burst into tears right there, so I quickly turned around, grabbed the divorce papers, and signed my name. No one knew that I had loved Orlando for 10 years. Thinking back to the year we got married, he had always played the perfect husband, which made me overlook the fact that his heart had belonged to someone else from the very beginning. I took a deep breath and then turned to Orlando, asking, when do we start the divorce process? Orlando frowned. It had been a year since our marriage, and he couldn't understand why his gentle wife was so eager to abandon him. He said softly, is it really necessary? And, do you really think we can just part ways forever? The Quinn family still likes you. Are you willing to sever ties with them? Orlando, you're the one who wanted the divorce, I said, feeling incredibly frustrated. Now that we're getting divorced, do you still want to interfere with my life? I gathered my courage and asked, maybe you've fallen for me? Maybe you no longer feel anything for Rebecca? Orlando's gaze turned cold when he heard my words. He responded, Cassandra, that's not me at all. My expression froze. I'm sorry. Seeing me still gentle and reasonable, a strange feeling surged within Orlando. Suddenly, my phone rang. I glanced at the caller ID, my eyes widening. Orlando didn't miss the brief flash of panic on my face. Noticing my hesitation, he urged, aren't you going to answer it? I nodded reluctantly and pressed the answer button. Hello? Cassandra, your test results are in, the voice on the other end said. You're over 2 months pregnant, and the baby is developing well. Have you decided whether to keep it? I froze, my mind in chaos. I'm pregnant. I didn't respond, but instinctively glanced at Orlando, afraid he might overhear the conversation. Orlando, noticing my reaction, asked worriedly, what's wrong? I quickly hung up the phone. Seeing the anxiety on my face, Orlando asked, Cassandra, what was that about? I shook my head. I thought to myself, why should I tell him? We're getting divorced soon. He won't change his mind because of the baby, and I can't use this unborn child to trap him. That would strip me of my last shred of dignity. I tried to sound calm. It was just something work-related. I can handle it. Orlando didn't press further, but he kept observing me closely. I forced a smile, pretending to suddenly remember something. I have to get to work now. Let me know when you're ready with the divorce paperwork. Before he could respond, I hurried out of the mansion. I was distracted the entire time I was at work. My friend, Michael Collins, noticed something was off and offered to drive me home so I could rest. When we arrived at the estate, I got out of the car and turned to Michael. Drive carefully, okay? Michael smiled back. Just as he was about to respond, his gaze shifted to the towering figure on the second-floor balcony of the mansion. He stared at the person for a moment, then turned back to me. Cassie, I need to tell you something. Curious, I leaned closer to the car window. Michael reached out and gently touched my hair. Take care of yourself, okay? The gesture surprised me, leaving me a little confused. The distance between us could easily be misinterpreted as a romantic